All right, so what's going on, everybody? It's your Birds 007 TV. I'm here with my friend Elizabeth. She is Chris Carter's wife. If you guys haven't been keeping up with the podcast, occasionally she gets brought up, and sometimes in like a funny way. But I thought it'd be interesting to talk to her about the current state of the world and how she's dealing with it, because she is raising two kids with Chris. So I just want to know, pretty much, like, are you scared? Like, that's my first question, because that what was on my mind first, because there's a lot of things happening right now with the whole Black Lives Matter movement. So do you feel like raising your kids in this environment, is it do you think it's harder at all, or do you think it's like going to be different once they reach that age of like they can understand things more?
I mean,
first of all, how old are they? My fault. How old are they?
No, you're okay.
Yeah.
Bryson, he's 4, and then Carson, he just turned 1 in March.
Okay.
Yeah, so super matchy names. You're gonna get confused if you talk about them. I apologize.
4 and 1, Carson and
Bryson. They're alphabetical order. Bryson comes first, Carson second.
Bet. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is that like?
Yeah, it's like being a parent is already scary. And you know, when you are with a Black person, you are taking on the responsibility of like understanding what they're going through, what they have to like be afraid of in life, what they have to, watch out for, especially with me being white, how my family interacts with them. And so, yeah, it's really scary right now. Like, because I'm already a person that's like cautious of things. And so with everything happening all at once with like COVID, that was scary.
Yeah, that's already, this year's been rough. And that's always been like an underlying thing that's always there too.
Yeah. So it's just like making sure that they're healthy and safe in that aspect. And then also like we're living in a time where there's protesting and riots and looting, and it's really intense. And I mean, lucky we're not in like a location where that's highly affected. But yeah, it's intense because it's just like we don't know where this is going. Like we don't know like when the betterment of doing all of these things and fighting for change, we don't know when that will directly affect us. So it's just like preparing for the time of addressing racism will affect you, or we won't have to have that conversation, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like a limbo right now. But
so it's like, because they are relatively young, like you said.
Yeah,
Bryson is 4 and Carson is 1. Boom, got it right first
yes.
time.
Oh yeah.
So they're relatively young. So you don't think that, I mean, he's 4 years old, so he probably really doesn't know what's going on unless he like sees it on TV, or you guys like overhear somebody talking about it, nothing like that. So he kind of just doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, and I kind of, and this may be wrong, like I'm not going to be doing everything right because I am white.
That was funny. That was funny.
Yeah, it was perfect. I'm not going to do everything right because I'm white, and I haven't lived through this my entire life. So I don't know, like maybe we should be having this conversation with him. But like I feel that like letting him be in his little bubble and appreciate life and like love people and see the good in people, I feel like that's such a valuable thing that I wouldn't want to make him more scared. Because like what we're trying to do is stop our children from having to live the life that so many people have lived. So it's just like, why would I put that fear on him at such a young age where he's already like trying to understand his identity? Like what people don't realize, like white people, is when you're raising Black or mixed kids, especially with mixed kids, you have to have the conversation of like addressing them being mixed. Like, why don't I look exactly like daddy? Why don't I exactly look like mommy? And when it's like when he's around family, it's like Chris's family, all Black. My family, I have mixed cousins, but other than that, it's all white. And so he's sitting here like, who do I identify with? So on top of that, I don't want to be like, there's people that hate you for no reason.
Exactly. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I never thought of it that way. Because obviously I don't have kids, and if I did have kids and they were mixed, it's kind of like I wouldn't want to pretty much like raise them to fear white people or other people in general, right? Because kids learn through their parents. So if you raise your kids right, then you shouldn't have to worry about these things, right?
Yeah, you shouldn't have to have the conversation of like, these people are, because like, okay, you're always gonna have the conversation of people are different and that's okay. But I feel like having the conversation of like racism and like people like explaining that people dislike other people for skin color, I feel like that's such a complex conversation, because they're going to hit a certain age where they're going to start like reading the room type situation. So like eventually they're going to start realizing it. I feel like that's kind of the time when you have the conversation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So you think it's like whenever they come to you about it type of thing, or like whenever it's like, hey, like this happened today at school or something like that, and then you kind of explain to them, like, you know.
And it's not like I went to like send him into the world like completely naive, but yeah, I don't want to put that fear on him and make him like, especially because, you know, he does have white family. I don't want him to feel like, oh, because I'm this way, my white family is automatically going to feel some type of way. Because, you know, it's hard to like address racism and not think that everyone's racist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, so for us growing up, well, I know for me growing up, like being like partially raised like in the South, and then the rest of it really being in Northern New York, it's like when I was a kid, I didn't really experience any type of racism, because it was just like first of all, we're all kids and everybody was friends for the most part. And it wasn't until I got to New York and, you know, you started becoming, you know, like middle school, high school, where you're just like, something feels kind of weird, something feels kind of off type of thing. And even like looking back on it, like the way we handle situations then, it's like no one, like I really didn't realize it. But then like looking back on it, it's like, wow, like people, like white people were treated like a little bit differently in school and on base. Definitely on base. I had like some experiences on base with the army guys there as like a teenager, and I'm like, that's kind of weird, you know, like,
right, like I'm a teenager.
Yeah, like I'm just
why are you intimidated by me? You're
I'm just chilling, dude. Like I don't even understand. I'm just a skinny ass teenager, and you guys are the whole army guys. I don't. Why are you guys very?
Literally
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
And then
go ahead.
Sorry, you go ahead. My bad.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, going off of that, like, not realizing it, I feel like that was something that like I had to address, you know, having a Black husband and mixed kids, I'm gonna say Black children, because that was another conversation that I had to have with my family. But yeah, so when I was first with Bryson, first pregnancy, there would be a lot of those like insensitive jokes, like jungle theme, things like that. And there were times where it would like go over my head because I'm not thinking of like that my husband's Black every 2 seconds. You know what I mean?
Was this like coming from like your family, or was it like friends? Was this your family? Before we continue, I don't know if you want to turn like a light on or something because it's getting dark over there.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. Yeah, hold on.
It's up to you.
Sorry, it got dark so fast.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like sitting here like, what?
Yeah, because like that's why I had the window open. I was like, oh, this perfect lighting.
But so you said you experienced it from your family. Like, how did you? That must have been kind of rough. I know I talked to Chris a little bit. He kind of touched on it, but I didn't really want to go into it that much at the time because we were like filming a podcast, and I didn't want to. I don't know. It was like I felt like it was gonna lead down like a weird path type of thing.
Yeah.
But
well, like,
how did you guys deal with that? Like, how did you guys like? Definitely growing up, because you guys have been together since I've known you guys. Like,
yeah,
literally.
Well, so let me start off with, I was never like, my parents never came off. Well, maybe in a way, maybe I was just too naive. But like, racism wasn't taught to me. Like, racism wasn't shown to me. And so, like, through my family. So, like, if you were to ask me when I was growing up, and if you would have said, like, is your family racist, or, like, yada, 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 I'd be like, no. Like, my cousins are mixed. Like, why would they be that way? Like, I'm not that way. But yeah, as I got older, and I mean, I've always like understood racism. When I was younger, I went to an all-Black school, and so like first grade, they were like, when you're talking about Martin Luther King Jr., like that conversation is very important. So at a young age, I was introduced to all of this. So I always had firm opinions on it, and just because like I would like to think I'm a good human being. I mean, that's just kind of like what it comes down to. But as I got older, you start to like peep conversations, you're listening more, you have more of an understanding. And I remember when Trayvon Martin was killed, that was like our sophomore year of high school, I think. It had to.
I think so. I think it was our sophomore year.
Yeah, and I have police officers in my family, and we were sitting at the table eating and having the conversation, and it wasn't just flat out, oh yeah, this situation is wrong, completely wrong. It was, oh, but we don't know the full story, yada, yada, yada. And then that's when, like, the light bulb started to turn on. And it's like, this really shouldn't be the conversation that we're having. So, you know, you kind of, when you're young, you know, you don't know how to use your voice. So, I would be outspoken when I could, or when I felt like I could, but you kind of get this, like, how do I speak on something that I'm just like a viewer looking in? Like, how can I be this angry without fully understanding it? And so, I am so hot. Let me put my fan on. Oh my god. Sorry, I was trying to keep it off for the sound quality, but I'm so freaking hot.
I don't think it's gonna pick it up because I'm hot too, but I'm wearing a whole hoodie and it's like
I'm wearing a thin long sleeve with shorts. I should not be this hot. But yeah, so sorry if I'm like dragging this out.
No, it's fine.
But yeah, so I just kind of like, after hearing that experience and kind of like seeing the taboo of like having that type of conversation in my family, it was like, okay, like, where do you guys stand on this issue then? Like, what are your feelings? But they're not going to talk about it because, you know, their opinions aren't going to be liked by me. So I kind of like fell back in having those conversations with people in my family because it's just like, I'm just going to get mad at you because you're being so just ignorant. And so when Chris, because we were away from each other, like he lived in different places and I was in Nebraska all throughout high school. So when we got married and came back home to be closer to my family because my family was going to help us out, that's when like you start feeling it before they say anything. You start feeling like something's different. Like, I can't put my finger on it, don't know what it is. Like, is it just because they don't like Chris because we went through a lot? Or is it like other things? They're not saying anything necessarily that's offensive, but like they are. And so, yeah, it would start off with like the jungle type comments for themes. And just like those type of like innocence, and like you're just thinking like in the moment, like me and Chris would like feel like gross when we'd leave, but we'd be like but they're not racist, so like maybe it is just like innocent ignorance, I guess is a way to say it. But yeah, so we just kind of like put up with it because it's just like hard to say, like hard to speak up and be like, hey, that's really not cool, because you're just like, oh, they're not really racist, like they love Chris, they love our kids, they're not doing it to be mean. But then like after George Floyd, I just like, I couldn't be silent anymore. Like, not all of my family was being inappropriate on Facebook, but a couple of them were. And it was just like how dare you at this point? Like, I'm trying not to, you know, be mad and explosive because that's just, I feel like that's not my place as a white woman. Especially when like there are Black women that have been saying this for years and years and years, and they're not being listened to. So at first it was like, okay, you're going to comment, you're going to talk to your family, but you need to like not get mad, but you're going to stand your ground. And so I think that's when I sat down and I typed up like this very like vague message to my family, like saying, hey guys, we need to like not allow people to be racist, basically, in our family. Because our family is, or my family is majority women, and like men were the ones who married into the family, and a lot of those men are racist or like ignorant racism, like, you know, like growing up in a small town and just saying things because like that's how you grew up.
Yeah.
But not like with the intention of like being mean. And so yeah, it was just kind of like, hey, like, let's speak up. Like, let's not let my children have to like hear these comments anymore. Let's not have to have Chris feel awkward, because you do treat the white people in the family differently than you treat him, and it's not okay. And he's experienced like in your face blatant racism coming from my family, and I didn't know that until we had the conversation after George Floyd's murder, because like that really hits you, you know.
Yeah, like, yeah, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
like, yeah, you're a black man, yes, yeah, you
yeah.
get it. But yeah, no, it like, and maybe we should have been having these conversations before, but yeah, but something, I don't know if it's just like us being like cooped up at home for so long and just like already like having all of these emotions and already being scared, but like I just couldn't hold it in. And I went in like thinking, oh, I'm talking to the people who are like me and who, you know, try and do their best to actively not be racist, actively like try and speak out against racism when it's necessary. And we just weren't speaking up in these family situations because it's family and that's kind of awkward. And that's not the response that I got. Ooh. It was quite the opposite.
Oh no, oh no.
Yeah. It was so bad. Like explosive. Like everyone like being like, how dare you send this to me right now while I'm at work? Yeah, and dude, it was the vaguest message. Like, just like blanketed, no specifics, nothing. And everyone got mad at me. And it's just like, why? And every time somebody in my family would post something on Facebook that was just like dumb, because it's just like, you say you're not racist and then you think it's okay to share a Facebook post that is being racist, and then you're still trying to carry this narrative that you don't feel this way, but you found the need to take time out of your day to share this post. And that was kind of like a big part of why I feel like I for so long didn't say anything, because it's just like, it's so easy to just be like, oh, it's just Facebook.
Exactly.
Like, exactly. Yeah. And like this time around, I just like was like, no, this is different. Like this time I can't just like share the things on Facebook and just like keep it pushing. Like I have to address these people head on, because we have to address every type of racism, like not just police brutality. And I can't, like, at the time we couldn't go out and protest, so it's just like, what can I do in my small space that's going to protect my kids? You know what I mean? So it's just like, at this point in my life, I've spent so much time trying to be, you know, grow and not be confrontational, not be like too outspoken, whatever. And so it's just like, I'm choosing my battle. And this is what it is. There's zero tolerance. Like, I can't tolerate it anymore. And I basically got bullied by my family for it. And it's not a pity party because it's whatever. Because it's just like, they're the ones that look bad. But, yeah, it's just like, I'm not going to let my family, like, my husband and my children be tolerated by anyone. And I'm all, like, I'm not going to stop being vocal at this point. So, yeah, I've cut off, like, 4 or 5 people out of my family.
Ah, damn.
Yeah.
I think I'm first of all, I want to say that takes a lot of courage and strength to speak up to your family, because that is your family. And I don't know how close you are with your family, but it's regardless of, that's your family. Because I know for a fact that there's a lot of people that have racist, like, family, whether it's whatever race you are, and they just kind of like deal with it because they were raised with it, even though they might not have that same mindset as their family. They just kind of put with it, and they're like, well, it's my family, man, that's just how we are. And it's like, yeah, that's how you are, but it starts with your family. Because if you think about it, if you sit there and let your family be racist, not just towards black people, but towards anybody in general, like treat anybody differently, then say you bring your kids around them, then that's going to start like indirectly rubbing off on your kids, and they're not going to know anybody either, because their kids are very impressionable. I think I said that word right.
Yeah.
At a young age. So it's like they take on the likeness of who they're around when they're younger. So that's very
well, and they can feel it too.
Yeah, like
they're in tune with emotions. Like, that's probably the one thing that they do understand off the rip is emotions. And so it's just like, yeah, I'm not gonna have I'll just say it. I like found out that one of my family members like says the N-word behind closed doors. And it's like, but I'm still being judged for addressing this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, y'all are openly admitting to, like, not just being biased, because that was a word that, like, came up a lot in that conversation. It's like, these actions are blatantly racist. And I don't care if you're saying them in front of my children. Like, when does that switch? You know what I mean? Like, when does my child turn into that negative view that you have? So it's like, being around you is no longer safe. So, yeah, I have to talk about it. And if, you know, like you were kind of saying, like, it starts at home. Like, if I can't have the conversation with my family, how am I supposed to have the conversation with anybody else? How am I supposed to address anyone else's racism when you're supposed to have your family's attention? You're supposed to have their love and support. So, me going to them shouldn't have been an issue. It should have been, like, a reflection. Because I had to, you know, own up to my responsibility of when these things were happening years ago, when my firstborn was younger, and we were around my family more. I should have been saying stuff. I should have been speaking up instead of like looking across the room for Chris and like giving him the "Are you hearing this?" look. I should have been saying something. And so it's just like, during this process, I'm also having to apologize to my husband. I'm also having to like deal with that. And on top of it, I'm having to address your issues that are bigger than what I thought they were. So it's just like going into it, I was like, I'm going to talk to the people that I have the power to influence because I have their attention. And it was just like, okay, you're just showing me that you're kind of like comfortable in your racism. And like, I can't have that. You know what I mean? Like what type of, like, I'm going to be kind of cliche, but like, what kind of ally would I be? What kind of mother, what kind of wife would I be if I just kind of said, oh, but like, because I mean, there was somebody who was just like, I didn't really have a personal conversation with, but like, they kept posting ignorant things on Facebook. And I kept saying, like, you may not feel this way, but what you're saying has influence over people. People look up to you. You have people on your page who are racist. Sorry to tell you. But all of these people who are liking this post, you're encouraging racism. And so it's just like, I can't keep justifying behaviors. And I'm not going to I don't know, I'm just like, I'm not going to take it lightly, I guess. I'm not going to just like be like, oh, it's been a couple months, like, let's talk again. Like, no.
Like, you're going to keep like hounding it, like keep talking to him about it and everything.
Well, because like, okay, so I kind of like had individual conversations with people. And a big part of who I wanted to talk to were the people in my family who were cops, or who are like actively cops. Because it's just like, they have the power for change. And if I can have this conversation with them because they don't have like a diverse group of people around them to tell them like, hey, this is like, I get that it's hard for you to understand because you're a police officer and you're just trying to like ride for your people, but this is the other side that you're like just kind of refusing to acknowledge at this point. That conversation was like, the person that I thought I was going to have the hardest conversation with was the easiest conversation.
And that was the police officer.
Yeah. And I mean, like, we still had like, over these last couple of months, we still had our moments because of like Facebook posts, and everyone kept making me kind of like feel silly or dumb because like, I'm not gonna like sit there and like spend my entire day like commenting on every single post. But yeah, there's like an especially dumb post, I'm going to like say something. Because like, why are you saying it? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just like, I don't post anything that's like F12 or anything. Because it's just like, I wouldn't want my family to think that like, you know, that like, I hate them. Because I don't. So it's just like, you should acknowledge that like, your little jokes on Facebook aren't always jokes. And that may make me, because like, Kenny used it as like an applause, like keyboard warrior. But like, my family was using that like judging me as if like, I'm just doing this for fun. And it's like, I'm not. You're like, why is it necessary to even post racist things as a joke. Like, what about racism is funny to you? Like, are you a comedian? Are you, like, on stage right now performing? Like, there's no reason for you to, like, you're not a comedian. So it's just like, you don't even have that to lean on. So yeah, I'm gonna be in your comments, and I don't care if I'm the only one here. I'm going to say something. And at one point, somebody told me that I was beating a dead horse. And it's just like, am I though? Is this a dead horse? Because like I feel like it's kind of living.
Yeah, I'm about to say this horse is alive and it's been alive for a couple hundred years. But
Yeah.
like that's I I don't post I try not to post anything political at all on any form of social media
Yeah, I was the
because
same.
yeah, because it's like people are always gonna either take it the wrong way or they're gonna take it in a way of how do I like how you said I don't want to give off the vibe of F12 like fuck the police or anything like that because it's like a lot of what we're seeing with the police they're doing it's all in the news like it's almost like every other week there's some type of shooting and the police are involved, but at the same time you have to think like there's police officers out there doing good shit too, like
Yeah.
and that's the same thing with black people, like there's amazing there's black people that are like model citizens and everything, and then there's black people who are not model citizens, and it's the same thing with like even if you look at Muslims for example, like at one point in time, and it's still a thing, all Muslims were viewed as terrorists after 9/11, which is not true. I mean, sure you have a bad group, but not all of them are bad. So I can't sit here and say that all police are bad because then they're gonna just say like, oh, all black people are bad, then, which is not true. Because growing up, I had a police officer when I was like in elementary school, kind of helped me get back on the right path, and he was a police officer and he was white, so it's like he helped me get back on the right path when I didn't have a father figure constantly in my household. So he was somebody I looked up to, and without him, I felt like I would have went down the wrong path, and I would have I wouldn't be where I'm at now, and
for sure.
It's stuff like that that kind of like irks my nerves whenever I see like people being like, oh, fuck the police or whatever like that. I'm like, but let's be honest though, if someone broke into your house right now and you didn't have a gun or something was going on, your first person you're going to call is probably the police. And
oh yeah, like, for sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, why is that like? Because like the people saying that narrative are like people who are like Blue Lives Matter, and it's like, why is that narrative necessary right now? Because it's just like, who doesn't understand that concept? Because it's just like, yes, we understand the duties of police officer and the like why we have police officers, but it's just the fact of that's not happening 100% of the time. And yeah, every job has its bad apples, but it's just like cops should also the cops that like we've seen that have impacted our lives in a positive way, that have changed our lives, because the police officers in my family have like took part in raising me. So it's just like, I know that you're a good person. I know that you're not intending to be mean and like support this narrative that's like completely opposite the Black Lives Matter movement, but you are, and you should understand that like you should be supporting the people that you signed up to protect. Like, you signed up to protect people, and the people don't feel safe with you. So it's just like, you should be able to, like, police officers, the good police officers should stop justifying. They should stop talking about how there's like sometimes there's more to the picture, because it's just like, we understand that like some situations we're not getting the full picture on camera, but we're getting enough to not feel safe.
Yeah.
So it's your job to be like holding the other officers accountable. If all of these good police officers stood their ground and like stopped saying Blue Lives Matter and like said, no, we support the people that don't feel safe, it would change like the complete dynamic. Because it's just like, I was telling the person who's actively an officer, like, this isn't just like civilian Black people issues or civilian people of color issues. This is affecting police officers, like workplace racism. Officers are affected by that. They're affected by police brutality sometimes, or potential police brutality situations. So it's just like, what you're saying may like be correct, but is it the right thing to be saying? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it goes for like all white people who are like saying things in regards to mostly police brutality. It's like, yeah, you're not always wrong in what you're saying. Like, you're not always incorrect in what you're saying. But, like, morally, is what you're saying right? You know what I mean?
I
feel like that.
I'm sorry, but whenever I did the interview with Chris a while ago, we got on the topic of doing this now for our kids in the future, and I think a lot of that stems into the generations before us, like you know, like the 70s and 80s people that are born then type of thing. And I feel, because mostly those are the people that are like police officers, you know, those that are like are the how do you put this? Like, I don't know. I feel like that's the 60s, 70s, and 80s is that like that group of children kind of like grew up in a weird like way, and their racism or just like just not caring about people in general is affecting us now, right?
Yes.
And people get set in their ways, right? So when I see like things pop up on the news or stuff on social media, and it's like a lot of it is kind of this, it's kind of upsetting because seeing people with that mindset, because it's like sometimes it's like no matter how much we swing and like fight and voice our opinions and riot and everything, it's like that the generation that we're dealing with now that's racist, they're so set in their ways that I feel like a part of us needs to focus on now, and a part of us obviously needs to put more focus on the future as well, because if we can't stop it now, we can make it better for the future. And it's like with you raising kids, if you like how you dealt with the situation you dealt with your family, like that is a prime example of the first step of raising your kids to love all races, to love everybody. And if we don't start doing that, if everybody doesn't start doing that with their children now, then the cycle's just going to keep continuing. Like nothing's going to really change, because the people that have the power to change things, like you know, on pen and paper and stuff like that, they might be racist too. They maybe are racist, and it's just like we have to put the future in a position to where that, hey, we went through this for y'all, so y'all don't have to experience this type of shit. Like kind of like how the civil rights movement, they went through all that hardship,
right?
So we can, you know, live a better life now. And even though it doesn't seem like a better life, I would rather be living now than in that time frame where it's like where I couldn't even like go on the street and really do anything. like where you and Chris's relationship would be like he would get in trouble if he was with you, type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of people's like, we haven't made progress, haven't made progress. We have, but it's just we made progress, but it's like it's still bad, and we
Right.
can't let that affect us when we're out trying to promote Black Lives Matter at
Yeah,
all.
I feel like the people who are like, you know, our parents maybe a little bit younger, maybe a little bit older, but in that time frame, like you said, they are still carrying that kind of like hard ass kind of like mentality of like showing compassion or empathy or like being like past a level of like tolerating, because like I feel like that's like a key thing these last couple of months, especially in my family, that I've heard is like tolerating. And it's just like, why is this like acceptable? Like, why are you so comfortable in like having a hard exterior? Like, why am I soft because I'm saying racism is wrong? And I'm like having this conversation with you, and I'm like pointing out, like, using the word ally. Like, it was like, oh, like, I don't even know how to say it. Kind of, like, basically, like, them, like, acting as if, like, it's cheesy. And it's just like, no, this is real life. And yeah, I know you grew up where, like, having these conversations with your family and your parents was taboo. And so you created this atmosphere that's taboo. But I feel like it's our response, like our generation, who like are more open, I guess,
Yeah,
to not allow like these people in power or have like the position to enact change, to like stop allowing that, like stop, like the person who, I'm just gonna say, my grandpa was posting super racist stuff. And a lot of people know him in his hometown. Like, he's been looked up to by a lot of people. And so it's just like, you have on the tip of your fingers the power to influence all of these people on your page by what you share or what you don't share. So it's just like, we're about to be voting. There's already Trump ads, there's, you know, Trump groups. The older generation usually doesn't like fact check posts. So it's just like, you're sharing this stuff just because like you think it's funny, or like you really feel this way, but like not completely, but like, why share it? Like, if you have the power to encourage people to be better, like, why not do it? Like, people are literally about to vote.
yeah,
And it's a,
like
yeah, like, and like, you may not be like racist, but this post is a racist rhetoric, and like that affects your emotions, that like validates your opinion or it challenges your opinion. So if you're over here like with your 500 racist friends like sharing racist things, you're just like feeding into this cycle of like, oh, we're right, like there's other people that feel this way, and they shouldn't be validated in those feelings. So for me, like, the power that I have is being the one person in the comments that's going to disagree. And I'm gonna throw up some links, because even if even if like in that conversation you still don't get it, you're still like clicking the link, even if it is just to make fun of me. You're still clicking the link. It may be taking you somewhere else. It may encourage you to just stop. Like, even if, for me, even if you just stop posting because I'm annoying you, cool. Like, I don't care what it is. But in this world, especially this Trump world that we live in, why would you encourage his rhetoric where when we're literally what 2 months away from an election, and like, this may sound dramatic, but your one post of validation to some racist jerk could be like the thing that pushes them to vote for Trump again. You know what I mean? So it's just like doing all that we can, like in the capacity that you have the ability to make change, to try and do it. And like, I know that a lot of people say that like just like talking on Facebook is performative, but it's just like social media is such an impactful place.
Social
Like,
media is very, very toxic. Right? It
yeah,
is.
so like why not like when you can flood it with um the information that people should be spreading, like, or directions to people, or like the actual thing that happened. Because like a lot of the time that's what you're seeing on Facebook is whatever side it's convenient for that perspective. And when you have 500 like people that are the same, you're not going to be seeing the different things. So we need to be participating when we can. And that's what I'm doing. Like, I stay at home all day. I have time to be on Facebook. I have time to
I have
I have
I
the
have
time.
I have time to do it.
Yeah, so I'm just like, I don't know, I'm trying to do the best I can within my abilities without crossing the line. So yeah.
That's everything you said here is like right on the head, and it's not even just in regards to raising your kids, to going to talking to your family, and everything with social media, because there's different ways to combat what's going on right now, right? And you're literally, the only thing you're not doing is going out and um protesting. And I like to see that, not just from you, but from everybody, because like during these times with COVID and everything, and like this, people just being afraid of that, there's other options that you can do to have your voice be heard, whether it's talking to your family, whether it's even just raising your kids right, or whether it's being on social media and making people aware what they're saying is wrong, or fighting racism on social media, saying, hey, like, this is from all sides, like, this is going to happen, like, we're going to get change no matter, like, you can't hide from this, pretty
Yeah.
much. Like,
Yeah,
the only way somebody
why
can hide
not,
from this.
yeah, like why not be a part of the positive side?
Yeah.
Like how hard is it? And especially because a lot of these people, like I said, are saying that they're not racist. So it's like, if you're not racist, how hard is it to not be racist? You know what I
It's
mean?
exactly, like, that's why it's like, it's a mindset that you saw growing up, and you're carrying out today with some of the people. And you can't always change mindsets, but
Mm-hmm.
you can try to change the mindset, and you can raise a good mindset. And that's what it's really all about, is constantly fighting racism and all the problems in the world from any side. So the people that have this mindset, they can't get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I promise you that most people in the world, let's stick to the US, most people in the US, they have some form of knowledge about what's going on right now. Whether it's they're just looking on their phone, whether it's they um, watch the news every morning, or they newspapers, or they just read tabloid stuff. They're going to see it, and that's where we have that. And that's good. That's good because if
Mm-hmm.
because that's the society we live in now, where it's like you can consume knowledge from so many places.
Right.
Um, and if you can't give them an outlet to run to, then they're going to be like eventually they're going to be like maybe what we're doing is messed up. Maybe we should take action on it. And no matter how long it takes, like, we're always going to be there fighting for this because it's something that like honestly, like throughout the early like 2000s, like in the mid 2000s, it's like it seemed like it was like a break in this whole thing. Like no one was really there's people being like there's activists, but it was
Yeah.
like it hasn't been covered like how it's covered now.
Yeah, you weren't feeling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like the people that were like die hard about it were doing it, but now it's
Mm-hmm.
like you have people that are just like, man, I didn't know that happened, or I didn't, it's covered more in the media and it's
Yeah,
getting
but
put out
yeah,
more
there's no excuse.
at all.
And yeah, and it's just like that's why like I don't like say it a lot because it's just like I don't want to like I'm like not trying to tell people what to do, but there's a lot of people like still being on the like on the fence of like, oh, but like there's good cops, so like we can't support the movement, or like there's good cops, so like defunding the police isn't necessary, or I don't like to post that stuff on Facebook. And it's just like, but why? Like why is you making a stance? Like, if you're not racist, then you making a non-racist stance shouldn't be a problem for you.
Some people are like some people were in the situation that you're in, right? Except you stood up to your family, but some people they don't want to put themselves in a position to where they get backlash from their family, like straight up.
Yeah,
Like they don't want to feel like an outcast in their family, and it's okay to feel like an outcast because you're doing the right thing.
yeah. That's what because like at the beginning of all of this, I was like, did I make the mistake? And it's
No,
like, no, because if these people feel this way, I don't want them in my life anyways. And I will say, the conversation with the active police officer, um, she had talked to me about, like we had a candid conversation about it. And she talked to me about how, like, she was trying to find spaces where uh, she could make change. I was like, and it was like outside of the police realm. And I was like, you have the power. Like, the most important place that you could be trying to make change is within like the police community. And I think that she like wrote a couple of letters, I think. And she's a part of a couple of groups that that help officers, because like that's another thing too, is like that like this movement isn't for police officers, but defunding the police, or like, because like I don't know if that's right. Like, I don't know. It hasn't happened. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, for sure, defunding the police is like our only option.
mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I
And I'm
think I think that might make everything worse because if you think about it, imagine you already have uh, a racist police officer or something, and then they start making less money.
well, here's the thing. It's
That's
not.
scary.
For me, it's just like thinking of it in the space of like uh the person who's an active police officer. I just don't want to like put her business out there if
Yeah.
people like are my friends on Facebook or whatever. but she's a part of groups to help like suicidal officers, because like that's also like a big issue. So it's just like you have these officers that are in distress too, that are committing suicide, that are, you know, because that is a high pressure job, it's high intensity. So it's just like what people are asking for is going to make your lives easier. We're asking for other people to be involved, to take less responsibility off of you, so you don't have to feel like you're going to like be a target at your job every second of the day. So it's just like, for me, like understanding that this isn't like F12, even though some people do feel that way and some people are saying that, the whole goal is to stop like Black people from being murdered for being Black. So it's just like, this isn't a hard thing to back up. This isn't a hard concept to grasp. Like, I get it that it's scary. Like, that's why I like I'm not down like people's throats. Like, I'm not like every day like on the computer like going at it. But it's just like, I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna remind you when you forget, or when you like start going along with your daily life. I'm gonna be here to remind you that you can't be comfortable anymore. There's no being complacent. Like, you should feel compelled to say something. So yeah, I'm just like, I'm to the point where like there's no excuses. Like, yes, you know, be a good human being, and in your day-to-day life, don't be racist. But also I feel like it's people's responsibility to speak up. Because what is the harm of speaking against racism?
Yes.
Besides potentially making somebody realize, oh hey, this is actually wrong. So it's just like if I wasn't the only one telling my grandpa, hey, this is not okay, like maybe it would have been more impactful, because everyone is like, you're wrong. Like, she's not being disrespectful because she's addressing racism. So yeah, I feel like white people fucking just be there. like I don't know like how else to say it. Just like, stop saying nothing, because saying nothing is why those people in the 60s, 70s, 80s are like the way that they are now. Yeah. Is because staying silent is like what makes the conversation of racism taboo. And like, why is racism a valuable thing to carry on? You know what I mean?
Some people just, I don't even know. I really don't. It's just, I think through with time and persistence that that generation, they're really going to weed them out, and the future's looking bright. Not just for the Black Lives Matter movement, but for every other group of people that have been ostracized in the community of anything.
Oh yeah, I'm not like I love seeing like the people who are speaking up and speaking out, and like being there for other types of people, and you know, being like in the moment, like, hey, that's not funny, or that's actually not cool to say. And I know like we're going in a direction of good things to happen. I've been hearing like Kenny talking and low-key Chris talking about how it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, that may be the case, but when like we're the people and the people have the power, when we're coming up on an election where we're going into the territory of like fascism, like there's fascist like signs coming from Trump, we should be trying to make now like not be complete hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we should be trying like stop like we need to stop the mindset of like, oh, let's just like write it out. No, let's not write it out. Let's like do all that we can do so that like the worst before it gets better isn't more of a detriment to more people and to like the ideal America, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because that will quickly be lost if like we allow the thought process of like, oh, like it'll work itself out, or like, oh, no matter what, it's gonna suck.
So you got to be active to get results, pretty much.
Yeah, for sure.
But on that note, Elizabeth, I don't want to hold you too long. I know it's kind of late here for me.
Yeah, and I was looking at the time. I was like, "Wow, we've been talking."
Yeah. But I want to say thank you for coming on, and also keep doing what you're doing, because you're making a change no matter how small anybody think it is. And to anybody that's out there watching, do the same thing. If you can't go out and be an active supporter, like out in the streets and everything, then do your part in your group of people, in your group of social media, your family. Let them know that about the issues and everything like that, because anything and everything helps.
Yes.
So, do you have anything else to say before we end the episode?
I don't know. Just
Chris, why are you coughing in the background?
I don't know. Just be good people. Like, not speaking up, like that's not being a good person. Like, I'm sorry to say, like, it's just not. So speak up. Don't tolerate it. Don't think that it's just gonna work itself out, because we've seen time and again in our lifetime that not speaking up just perpetuates the cycle, which should be an easy concept, but for some reason it's not. So yeah, just be good people.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. I know this is kind of long, but it's worth it. So if you stayed this long, make sure you leave a like. Make sure you go support Elizabeth's wife. Elizabeth's wife? Elizabeth's husband, Chris Carter, with his music. And make sure you guys are staying active in the Black Lives Matter movement. Don't get complacent in your efforts. And other than that, peace out, everybody.